Hello, everyone. Welcome to Daily Bible Study. We're so glad you decided to join us today. Our chapters really comprised the book of Haggai. So it's 2 chapters. So hopefully you got a chance to read that today. In that, what we see is a very profound reality that I think not only do we see from God's people in this context, but maybe even for us today, right? So before we start, I need to ask, are you comfortable? Is the air conditioner or the heater temperature just right where you're at? Do you have something to drink? Is where you're sitting or what you're doing, are you comfortable right now? You see, comfort is an important component of much of Western civilization and the industrialized world. It's certainly what we see, not just in our world, but in the context of Haggai. What was the problem with God's people here is that they had prioritized comfort over doing what God had called them to do. Right? So in Haggai chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, it says, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, these people say, the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. Then the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai the prophet. Is it time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses while this house lies in ruins?" Right? So the people of Israel were not doing what God had called them to do at this time, right? So they had postponed their obedience, which was what? To rebuild the temple, right? They had started with the foundation, and then they paused it, and they started working on other things, right? They got preoccupied with other things. And so choosing comfort over obedience was a big issue in this context. Sometimes that's still an issue today, right? So if we're to read this biblically in a theological perspective, we have to understand what is being said here. They stopped building the temple to build their own homes. Are there any applications for us today that we can look at in a systemic way or a systematic way and draw from that? I think we can. I think we can look at the dangers that the author was revealing to God's people, right? This was a moment where you prioritize comfort over doing what God called you to do. And so choosing comfort over obedience was a problem, right? Ignoring what God had called them to do led to a lack of flourishing as a result. So that's interesting, right? The thing that they wanted the most was what was prevented from happening for them. What they wanted the most was comfort, but comfort was what was removed from them the most because that was their desire, right? So their lack of flourishing eventually pointed them to God, right? Repenting will point them to his pleasure, right? So this pleasure was revealed to them in this lack of flourishing, right? So whatever you put your heart and mind into, right? The context here is telling us whatever you put your heart and mind into, if it's not God, it will lead you to a lack of flourishing. You'll never have enough. You'll never get it, right? But the moment that you see the priorities and put them back in alignment, you will begin to see what God has called you to do. So don't prioritize comfort over what God's calling you to do. Let's get uncomfortable, or be willing to get uncomfortable for what God's calling us to do today, all right? I love you guys. Hope that you can be encouraged today by the word of the Lord and that you be blessed today, and that the peace of God would continue to overwhelm you in your life. Take care, guys. See you.